Sonic Adventure had too many characters, but I don't believe this for the reason that you're thinking. Let's discuss right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
Hey there beautiful human, my name is Riders DX and welcome to my channel where today we're going to be talking a little bit more about Sonic Adventure. So last week I put out a video about the Sonic Adventure remake rumors which have been going around like crazy the past week or so about why I don't believe that a remake is a good idea. If you're interested in seeing what I thought about that topic, then go ahead and click on the link in the top right corner right now. But in this video, I wanted to discuss a little bit more about a topic that came up during the video that I saw a lot of comments on in particular, and that is the amount of characters that are in the game. I said in that video that I believe that Sonic Adventure had too many characters and I didn't like the multiple playstyles that were in the game. And a lot of people came to the game's defense in the comment section saying that they love the multiple playstyles, they love the multiple characters, and that they're sick of Sonic being the only sole character in the series, etc, etc, etc. All these things, and I feel like I tried to present my point, but I wasn't very clear on what I was actually saying. So this is more of a video to follow up on that and talk about what it really is I meant by saying that Sonic Adventure had too many characters, because it's a little bit more complex than you might think. But before we dive into that, I want to show off another fan art today. This comes again from Kex Overlord, who I've showed before on these videos, but he made a brand new one to kind of mimic the new design that I have, and oh my gosh, it looks like an album cover. Like if Metal Duckles was like a singer or a rapper, then this would be his debut album cover. Oh my gosh, this is the perfect cover for a queen. That's an interesting question. I wonder if Metal Duckles would be a musician. These are the questions I ask every day. But yeah, this design looks awesome. I love it. I love the lightning that's in the design also. It just looks amazing. I kind of want to use it actually, but I just don't know what I'd use it for. But yeah, check out his channel in the description box below. I'll leave a link to it. He's so talented and I think it's so awesome that he did this twice. So thank you so much. But back to the topic at hand, let me give you all some background on Sonic Adventure in terms of its multiple characters before I dive into why it is I thought that there were too many characters in that game. So Sonic Adventure was a very unorthodox Sonic game when it first came out, because every Sonic game beforehand, there were some multiple characters here and there, but it stuck very much to the Sonic gameplay style that we've all come to grow and love ever since Sonic first debuted, and that was trying to speed through the stages as fast as possible, you know, trying to get to all the shortcuts, you know, jumping in the ball, you know, spin dashing into enemies, you know, all that great stuff that Sonic was introduced as when he first came out in 1991. So Sonic Adventure was the very first game that, although it kept that gameplay style for Sonic's gameplay, the developers then went on to develop 5 separate gameplay styles and characters to pad out the rest of the game. So you had Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big, and E102 Gamma to finish off the 6 playable characters in the game, and they all had their unique separate gameplay styles and their own separate stages that were designed specifically for them to go through. And this was a really big marketing tactic, I think, back in the day, because I think multiple characters was something that people were very excited about back then. So I think that's one reason why Sonic Adventure had so many different characters. Plus, Sonic Adventure was also known as the game that kind of sold the Dreamcast. So Sega had struggled with the Sega Saturn beforehand, and they really needed to come back with a really strong console this time around. So they thought the best way to do that was to make the first Sonic game, which is their, you know, their mascot. Sonic will always be Sega's mascot. So they want Sonic Adventure to be that flagship title that was gonna get people to want to come buy the game. You know, kind of similar to how like Wii Sports, for example, was for the Wii, and you know, a bunch of other examples that I'm too lazy to think about right now. But yeah, Sonic Adventure was meant to show off everything the Dreamcast can do. So I think that's why they try to put so many different things into the game, because they wanted this game to sell the system. And that's why beyond the 6 playable gameplay styles, you also had like the Child Garden, you also had hub worlds, you had cutscenes and storytelling. All these different new things that Sonic has never like really done before, at least not to this extent, being tried out for the very first time in Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure was such an ambitious game, and it will definitely go down in history as being being like a really great game in terms of ambition, because back then when Sonic Team was making this game, they had the budget to, pursue all these different things and make a game that was truly going to be memorable for the years to come. Looking back on it now though, I do feel like that there are too many characters in this game, and I feel like the game's focus was very unfocused basically. The game basically had no focus. It was very much a mosh pot of different ideas that Sonic Team and Sega wanted to try, and I want to set the record straight right now. I don't have a problem with multiple characters, and here's what I mean by that. Let me give you all examples of some titles that I think like do multiple characters correctly, and I'll give like one non-Sonic one first, and that's SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. So SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom is one of my favorite games of all time, and one of the things that it does really well is how it utilizes multiple characters. So in that game, you have SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy that are 3 playable characters, and all 3 characters have their own separate abilities that make them unique and make them navigate levels differently. For example, SpongeBob has like the bubble bowl or the cruise bubble. Patrick can throw objects, and Sandy can lasso her way across levels, so she has this gliding ability that makes her really unique in the game compared to the other 2 characters as well. But the thing about this is that though all 3 characters had their unique traits and abilities, they all still felt somewhat similar, and I still felt like I was playing the same game when I was controlling one of those 3 characters, just like a character with slightly different abilities that were necessary to get through the next part of the levels. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy both had a similar speed, they both have similar jumping mechanics, they both have similar physics, they all had like a similar feel to them. They just had different abilities that helped them to navigate levels in different ways, and this is, in my opinion, the very best way to incorporate multiple characters in any video game. Now let me give you some examples of Sonic games that do this really well. So the classic games, for example, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic Mania, all of them have multiple characters, but they all share the same gameplay style in general. They just have different abilities that allow them to navigate and reach different pathways within the levels. And I think this is an awesome and amazing way to incorporate multiple characters, because you're giving the player options in terms of who they want to play, but at the same time, you're not deviating too much from the main gameplay style. And I think that was the problem with multiple playstyles in the adventure games, is that when you had like multiple playstyles, you were detracting from the main course, which was the Sonic gameplay. And this is just basic logic, this is just basic reality, is that if you have your resources split up into different playstyles, they're not going to be as good as they could be if everyone worked together on one specific gameplay style. And the thing about this is that Sonic is one of the only series that has done this consistently. Sonic is one of the only franchises that has had so many games with multiple playstyles. I mean, if you look at Mario, for example, or The Legend of Zelda, or Crash Bandicoot, or Spyro, the majority of their games focus on one specific playstyle. I mean, here and there you might have a little bit of a deviation, such as a mini game or like a brief segment with a different character, but it never felt as jarring as, say, the difference between Sonic the Hedgehog and Big the Cat, or even E102 Gamma. And people can say all they want how these characters do have similar feels, but the reality is they are so drastic in so many other ways, including how the stages and levels are structured. Like, all the levels for each of these different characters have different objectives that make you play them differently. I mean, let's take Knuckles for example. Knuckles controls very much like Sonic and Tails in terms of speed, in terms of jumping, in terms of physics, but the fact that his level is all about finding 3 different Master Emerald pieces, suddenly his gameplay is not about getting to the gold ring. Now his gameplay is about searching, exploring around the level, around like an open box, trying to find the 3 pieces of the Master Emerald, and that alone is such a different mechanic from what we're used to in the Sonic series. I just don't think that multiple playstyles are beneficial for a game, and I've seen it time and time again in Sonic games in particular, like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic 06, Sonic Forces for that matter. You have all these different gameplay styles, and one of them is bound to suffer as a result. It's just the reality. You have limited resources, you have limited staff. If you try to devote your resources towards different avenues, they're not gonna be as good individually as it could be if everyone worked together on a core gameplay style. And plus, when you play a Sonic game, I hate to sound like a broken record compared to like all the numerous reviewers that have reviewed Sonic in the past few years, but when you play a Sonic game, you're looking for a Sonic game. That's just the reality. And it doesn't matter how good the other gameplay styles are. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that the Werehog is very well designed and plays very well. I just don't think that that gameplay style belongs in a Sonic Sonic game, especially because in that game it took up more than half of the game. So multiple gameplay styles, while it doesn't sound like such a bad idea from the get-go, it really results in a very unfocused game overall. You have multiple gameplay styles that individually are not as good as it would be if all the developers pooled their resources into one style, and that's just my main shindig. So to conclude, I don't have a problem with multiple characters. In fact, I'm kind of sick of Sonic being the only playable character. I do miss the days I get to play as Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Amy, you know, all my favorite Sonic characters, because that's one of the best things about the Sonic franchise is the richness and depth of the characters that are in the universe. So of course I miss characters, like Knuckles is my favorite character in the franchise. I miss playing as him, but I don't miss the multiple play styles. I don't miss the drastically different gameplay styles that Sonic Team kept trying to put in all these different Sonic games. And the fact is that they keep doing this. They keep doing this over and over again. Like when I play Sonic Forces or Sonic Generations, I don't want to play as classic Sonic. I'm sorry. It's not that classic Sonic is bad, it's just that I feel like classic Sonic shouldn't be sharing the spotlight with the modern gameplay. You know, whenever I'm playing as classic Sonic in Sonic Generations or Sonic Forces, I always wish that I could just go back to the modern style right away, because in that game in particular, the modern style just happens to be more fun for me. And it just makes me think that like if the whole game just focused on the modern playstyle, then I wouldn't be having this problem. And I don't hate the classic gameplay either, because when I'm playing Sonic Mania, for example, I love that style, and I'm glad that it doesn't deviate from that very much, aside from like say the pinball mini game or like the special stages, which are very brief and very like irregular, and you could skip them if you wanted to. That's the thing, they're optional. You don't have to play them. And yeah, I will say that I don't think all Sonic Adventures playstyles are bad. I think if there's one character that does exactly what I want a second character to do, that's Tails. So Tails controls differently from Sonic, but his stages are not very different from Sonic. In fact, they're basically the same as Sonic. It just has a bit of a twist, which is that Tails needs to get to the end as soon as possible because he's racing someone, and his flying mechanic makes the level a lot different compared to how you would play the level if you were Sonic. So I think Tails' gameplay in Sonic Adventure is the perfect example of how I think another character should play as in a Sonic game. You know, give the character their own special abilities, but don't make their gameplay differ too much from Sonic's gameplay. And the classic games do this really well. I think Tails does this really well. I think Tails does this really well in Sonic Adventure. I think if Sega just did that from now on with multiple characters, I think the games would be so much better. They'd be so much more universally liked, because I am aware that people do like these gameplay styles, but that's not universal. That's not nearly universal. You know, you may have people that like the Werehog, for example, but you also have people that hate it. And that's just the issue with multiple playstyles in general, is that someone's gonna love it, but someone's also gonna hate it. If you have one gameplay style, then all the people that are playing that game are guaranteed to like that style, because otherwise they wouldn't be buying that game. But if you have multiple playstyles, you have some fans that like this style, but you have other fans that like this style and hate the other. And this is just an issue that comes up again and again and again when you have multiple playstyles. So it doesn't matter how many people like fishing as Big the Cat, there's people that don't like it. And that's the fundamental flaw with multiple playstyles in a Sonic game. You're always going to have someone that hates it. At least if you had a single gameplay style, you could 1. Devote all your resources to it, and 2. Make sure that the audience that's buying this game is interested in playing this gameplay style, because then you're much more likely to please everyone that buys the game to some level. But if you have multiple play styles, that's just impossible. You're not going to please everyone. And I will say that it is impossible to please everyone even with one gameplay style. But if you have multiple play styles, that possibility just goes out the window. That's not even something to think about. Your game is going to be polarizing no matter what. You're going to have people that like it, you're going to have people that hate it. It's going to be polarizing no matter what. And yeah, I know that I really rambled on about this one, but this is just a topic that I've always felt very strongly about in terms of multiple playstyles. And don't get me wrong, I love the adventure games. I grew up with them, and I have a very deep love for these adventure games. But if I wanted to see the gameplay style come back, I don't want to see the mech shooting levels come back. I don't want to see the treasure hunting levels come back. I just want Sonic's pure gameplay style to come back, and that's it. I want that game to focus specifically on that gameplay style and nothing else, because that's the gameplay style I played adventure games for, and everything else is just a barrier to that gameplay style. That's it. Not to say that I didn't like the mech shooting levels or the treasure hunting levels. I think though that if you really want to do those gameplay styles justice, they should get their own games. That way you can have all the resources pooled to work on that gameplay style, and people will be buying that game for that gameplay style. They wouldn't have to struggle to play another style that they didn't want to buy the game for. They would buy that game expecting that gameplay style and enjoying that gameplay style. But yeah, I think I've gone on long enough. I could go on forever about this, and I'm just gonna cut it right there. These are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these, want to see more in the future. Follow me on Twitter at RidersDX or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. And yeah, that's everything. Riders is out. Oh, sorry. This is Riders, and I'm riding out.